You're tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. You're tired in your soul, exhausted from being the person everyone plugs into, draining you dry day after day, while you smile and say, "It's fine." But it's not fine. And deep down, you know it. You look around and see people with half your talent, half your intelligence, and half your dedication getting the respect and recognition you deserve. Meanwhile, you get asked for favors, you get interrupted, you get the leftovers of people's time and affection. You've convinced yourself that if you just give a little more, sacrifice a little more, eventually they'll see your value. Eventually, they'll appreciate you. Here's the truth that nobody wants to tell you. They won't. In fact, the psychological research is clear on this point. The more you give without establishing boundaries, the less people respect you. This isn't cruelty, it's human nature. Generosity without boundaries isn't read as love or virtue. In the dark corners of human psychology, it's read as weakness. People don't respect what's always available and free. They use it until it runs dry. If you want to stop the bleeding, if you want to shift from being someone's resource to being the architect of your own life, you need to understand one specific psychological principle. It goes against everything you were taught about being a good person, but once you implement it, people will stop using you and start respecting the boundaries you set. By the end of this video, you'll understand the psychology of respect, how to set boundaries without guilt, and why being too nice actually attracts disrespect. Let's examine the biology of social dynamics. In nature, predators don't attack other predators unless necessary. A lion doesn't hunt a wolf for sport because the risk is too high and the cost too great. Predators hunt the harmless, the slow, the defenseless. This same principle applies to human social interactions, though it manifests psychologically rather than physically. When you present yourself to the world as completely harmless, always agreeable, always available, constantly smiling, and never offended, you're sending a clear signal. You think you're communicating virtue and goodness, but the primitive social brain of people around you, even those who genuinely care about you, reads a completely different message. They read no consequences, and where there are no consequences, there can be no genuine respect. Think carefully about the people you respect most in your life. Do you respect them because they do everything you ask? Do you respect them because they're incapable of disagreeing with you or setting limits? Of course not. You respect them because they have power. They have clear boundaries and lines they won't let anyone cross. You know instinctively that if you violate those boundaries, there will be consequences. There's a healthy sense of potential friction that keeps the relationship balanced. Jordan Peterson has discussed this concept extensively in his work on personal development and psychology. But let's explore it more deeply. A completely harmless person is not a good person. A harmless person is not a virtuous person. A harmless person is simply powerless, like a rabbit in the wild. A rabbit cannot claim virtue for being peaceful because it has no choice. It must be docile because it lacks any capacity for self-defense. True virtue, the kind that commands respect, comes from having the capacity for setting firm boundaries and enforcing consequences, but choosing cooperation and kindness instead. That's controlled power. That's what creates genuine respect. Having the ability to say the thing that could damage a relationship. The capacity to walk away and let things fall apart, but choosing to stay and work things out from a position of strength rather than desperate need. Right now, you're being used because you've demonstrated to the world that you have no teeth. You've shown everyone around you that no matter what they do, whether they cancel plans at the last minute, talk over you in meetings, underpay you for your work, or disrespect your time and energy, you will stay. You'll rationalize their behavior, you'll forgive instantly, and you'll try to understand their perspective while ignoring your own needs. Stop trying to understand everyone's motivations and start observing their patterns. They're not confused about your boundaries. They're not going through such a difficult time that they can't help mistreating you. They're testing the fence every time they push against your boundaries and the fence falls over without resistance. They learn that they own the territory. You've taught them that you're cheap real estate, available for exploitation without any cost to them. This is the first difficult truth you must accept. You're not merely a victim of their cruelty or thoughtlessness. You're maintaining the pattern through your own lack of boundaries. You've handed them the weapon they're using against you. Why do you do this? Because you're afraid. You're terrified that if you show your capacity for setting limits, if you reveal that you can enforce consequences, they'll leave. Deep down, you don't believe you're enough to make people stay without your constant usefulness and availability. You've developed a trauma bond with the world where you believe that if you stop doing things for people, you cease to have value. This is the first pattern we need to break. Here's something uncomfortable you need to hear. You're running a psychological scam. Though you don't realize you're doing it, you think you're being selfless and kind. But psychologically speaking, you're operating from what therapists call a covert contract. This is an unspoken agreement you've made in your own mind without telling the other person, and it's poisoning your relationships. The covert contract looks like this. I will hide my real needs and never express my authentic feelings. I will suppress any anger or disappointment. I will do everything you ask and more. I will be the perfect employee, the ideal partner, the most helpful friend. And in return, without me ever having to ask, you must love me, validate me, protect me, and never abandon me. But here's the fundamental problem with covert contracts. You never told the other person about this agreement. You signed it privately in your own head, and now you're silently furious that they're not holding up their end of a bargain they never agreed to. You're angry that they don't anticipate your needs the way you constantly anticipate theirs. You're resentful that they don't sacrifice for you when you sacrifice so much for them. But why would they? You've made it incredibly easy for them not to reciprocate. This is the shadow side of nice guy or nice girl syndrome. And it's more manipulative than you want to admit. It's a strategy to avoid rejection by becoming so indispensable that people can't discard you. The unconscious logic goes, if I'm useful enough, if I'm always available, they can't throw me away. It's the psychological strategy of a servant trying to avoid punishment. But the servant remains a servant regardless. When you operate from covert contracts, you're not genuinely giving freely. You're making loans with interest, and when people don't pay you back in the currency of validation and appreciation, you become bitter. This bitterness inevitably leaks out even when you try to suppress it. It emerges in passive-aggressive comments, in the heavy sigh when you do dishes for the third time that day, in subtle, silent treatments that you tell yourself aren't really silent treatments. People can smell this resentment on you, and it creates a destructive cycle. The resentment actually makes you less attractive and easier to exploit because people lose respect for martyrs. Nobody genuinely respects a martyr until after they're dead. In the present moment, martyrs just seem like people who won't stand up for themselves. You have to tear up these covert contracts completely. You must stop trading your obedience and availability for love and approval. Because the validation you receive through this transaction isn't actually love. It's conditional approval. And approval is like a drug. It gives you a brief high that wears off within minutes, leaving you shaking and desperate for another hit of validation. True respect, the kind that actually stops people from using you, only emerges when you act without expectation of specific returns. More importantly, it comes when you're willing to act in your own self-interest, even if others disapprove. There's a fundamental concept in economics called opportunity cost. Everything you say yes to costs you a corresponding no somewhere else in your life. When you agree to help a friend move their furniture when you're already exhausted, you're saying no to your own rest and recovery. When you work overtime without compensation because you don't want to seem difficult, you're saying no to your own dignity and self-worth. You're selling your finite life energy for pennies, and the market value of something that's always freely available is essentially zero. Think about air. Air is absolutely vital for human survival, far more important than gold. But because air is constantly available everywhere, nobody pays for it under normal circumstances. Gold, on the other hand, is relatively useless for survival, but because it's rare, people will kill to possess it. Right now, you're acting like air in people's lives. You need to become more like gold. How do you increase your value through scarcity? Human beings are psychologically wired to value what they fear losing. The fear of loss is a much stronger psychological driver than the desire for gain. This is why limited time offers work in marketing, and it's why the same principle applies to human relationships. Currently, nobody fears losing you because you're always there, always available, always willing to drop everything. You're like a fixture in the room, a lamp in the corner that's useful when needed, but completely ignored otherwise. If that lamp started flickering, people would suddenly pay attention. If the lamp disappeared entirely, they'd be stumbling around in the dark. You need to learn the strategic art of withdrawal. This isn't about playing manipulative games or ghosting people to punish them. This is about consciously redistributing your energy and attention to honor your own needs and priorities. When you feel yourself being taken advantage of, your instinct is probably to try even harder. You want to explain yourself, to make them see how much you do, to ask them, "Don't you see everything I sacrifice for you?" That instinct is precisely wrong. Instead, stop. Create silence. Pull your energy back. Remove your attention from the table. The moment you genuinely withdraw your availability, the entire dynamic shifts. Suddenly, the person who is taking you for granted feels a vacuum. They lean in with concern. "Something wrong? Are you upset with me?" Here's what you need to understand. They're not asking because they genuinely care about your emotional state in that moment. They're asking because their supply of your attention and effort has been cut off. They're checking to see if the appliance they've been using is broken. In this crucial moment, you face a choice. You can reassure them with, "No, I'm fine. Sorry for worrying you," and immediately plug yourself back into their exploitation. Or you can hold the silence. You can prioritize yourself with a simple, ambiguous response. Like, "I'm just focusing on some personal things right now." Ambiguity is powerful in a way that excessive clarity is not. When you're an open book, people know exactly which pages to tear out for their own use. When you become somewhat mysterious and unpredictable, they handle you with more care because they're uncertain about the consequences of mistreating you. Carl Jung, the founder of analytical psychology, made a profound statement. "I would rather be whole than good." To become psychologically whole, you must integrate your capacity for assertiveness and even a degree of controlled aggression. This doesn't mean becoming violent or cruel. It means acknowledging and accepting that you have the capacity to set firm boundaries and enforce consequences. The specific thing you must do to stop being used is this: you must become genuinely willing to end relationships that don't serve you. Even if that ending creates temporary chaos in your life, people exploit you because they know you're desperately attached to maintaining the current situation. You need the job, even if it's underpaying you. You need the relationship, even if it's one-sided. You need to keep the peace, even if that peace is actually slow suffocation. There's an iron law in human relationships. Whoever cares the least about the outcome holds the most power. This isn't about becoming cold or indifferent to people you genuinely care about. It's about being willing to walk away from situations where you're not valued, even if walking away is frightening. If you're completely unable to walk away from a relationship, job, or situation, you're not in a partnership. You're a prisoner, and prisoners inevitably get exploited. To be genuinely free to walk away, you must cultivate a degree of ruthlessness. Not ruthlessness toward others, but ruthlessness against your own desperate need for comfort and certainty. You must be willing to face the chaos and uncertainty of the unknown, rather than accept the slow suffocation of a known exploitation. This requires integrating what Jung called your shadow, particularly your capacity for healthy aggression. Aggression in this psychological sense is not violence or cruelty. Aggression is the essential energy required to move forward against resistance. It's the force that says, "This is my boundary, and if you cross it, there will be real consequences." Without this integrated aggression, your boundaries are merely suggestions. They're lines drawn in sand that the tide of other people's demands washes away instantly. With integrated aggression, Your boundaries become walls that people recognize. They cannot cross without cost. Think about a time when someone disrespected you and you said nothing. You felt heat rising in your chest, a tightness in your throat, maybe your hands clenched involuntarily. That physical response was your shadow self screaming to be acknowledged. That was your self-respect trying to defend you, and you choked it down. You swallowed the poison of that moment to keep the superficial peace, and that poison made you sick with resentment. Next time, allow that heat to rise, but channel it strategically. You don't need to scream or create a dramatic scene. You simply need to look the person in the eye with absolute calm, stillness, and say clearly, "I will not accept that." Then, and this is critical, you stop talking. You don't explain your reasoning. You don't justify your boundary. You don't apologize for having limits. You deliver the boundary and then sit in the heavy silence that follows. The silence will be profoundly uncomfortable. The other person will scramble to fill it. They might try to make a joke to diffuse the tension. They might try to blame you, saying something like, "You're being too sensitive," or "I was just kidding." You do not react to these provocations. You hold their gaze steadily and maintain your boundary without wavering. In this moment, you're showing them something they haven't seen before. You're revealing that underneath your nice, accommodating surface, there's something solid that will not be moved or manipulated. This single moment can change the entire trajectory of a relationship. Their brain instinctively recategorizes you from safe and usable to worthy of respect and potentially dangerous to cross. The reason you haven't enforced boundaries until now is that you're addicted to external validation and what psychologists call external regulation. You need other people to tell you that you're okay and acceptable. If someone is angry with you or disappointed in you, your entire internal world feels like it's collapsing. This is why you constantly try to fix things and chase people's approval. You're attempting to stabilize your own anxiety by managing and fixing their emotional state. You must develop genuine emotional autonomy. This means your internal sense of stability and worth becomes independent of other people's external reactions to you. If someone chooses to be angry at you for setting a boundary, let them be angry. It's not your responsibility to metabolize their emotions for them or to manage their feelings about your self-respect. There's a technique used by therapists when dealing with manipulative personalities called the gray rock method. Imagine you're a gray rock, dull, uninteresting, emotionally flat, and completely impenetrable. When a manipulator tries to provoke you, tries to guilt you, or tries to exploit you, you give them absolutely nothing to work with. No emotional drama, no defensive explanations, no supply of the reaction they're seeking. Here's how this sounds in practice. Someone demands a favor you don't want to do. "I can't do that for you." They respond with manipulation. "Why not? You always help me. You're being selfish." Your gray rock responds, "I understand you feel that way, but the answer is no." Deliver this in a flat, emotionless voice with calm eyes. You're not engaging in their argument or defending your decision. You're simply stating a fact about reality. The way gravity is simply a fact. Gravity doesn't argue with you when you fall. It just is. Learn to be like gravity with your boundaries. When you stop the cycle of justifying, arguing, defending, and explaining yourself, you strip manipulators of their power over you. They cannot hook you emotionally if there's nothing for them to grab onto. This drives people who are accustomed to manipulating you absolutely crazy because they desperately want the reaction. They want the fight and the drama because in conflict, they can twist your words and make you doubt yourself. In your calm, unshakable silence, they're left alone with their own toxicity and unreasonable demands. Emotional autonomy is the ultimate psychological shield. It allows you to observe people's behavior patterns instead of absorbing their emotions and making them your responsibility. You start to see the manipulation attempts clearly, almost like watching strings being pulled. "Oh, look, he's using guilt to try to get me to work late again. Oh, look, she's using the silent treatment to force an apology out of me. When you can observe these patterns as a detached witness rather than an anxious participant, the interactions become something you're watching rather than a tragedy you're living through. And when you're watching the manipulation game from outside, you can consciously choose not to play. You can step off the board entirely. We need to fundamentally reframe your sense of identity and value. You've confused constant availability with actual value. You've told yourself, if I'm always here and on and always helpful, I'm valuable. This belief is completely wrong. Water is everywhere and constantly available, so we waste it without thought. Diamonds are rare and hidden, so we treasure them and handle them with extreme care. You must shift your entire focus from being a helper to being a builder. Helpers get used and taken for granted. Builders get hired and compensated fairly. Helpers beg for gratitude and appreciation. Builders command a price for their time and expertise because they know their worth. Ask yourself honestly, what are you actually building? Are you building your own physical health and fitness? Are you building your own knowledge and mental capabilities? Are you building your own business, career, or personal empire? Or are you simply carrying bricks all day to build someone else's castle while your own foundation crumbles? When you shift your focus to your own meaningful mission and goals, you naturally become less available for other people's endless demands. You don't have to pretend to be busy or make excuses. You genuinely are busy because you're constructing a life that doesn't depend on other people's approval or validation for your sense of worth. This shift is inherently attractive to others. People are instinctively drawn to momentum and purpose. When they observe you moving powerfully toward your own goals with focus and determination, they want to be part of that energy. They will actually start chasing you and your attention. But this time, critically, they're pursuing you because they genuinely value you as a person, not because you're conveniently available to serve their needs. This is the transformation from the people-pleasing, nice person to what I call the architect of your own life. The architect has a clear blueprint and specific plans. He has important work to do. He doesn't have spare time to fix your minor problems because he's building something significant. If you want access to the architect's valuable time and expertise, you have to offer something of equal value in return. You have to step up and reciprocate meaningfully. This new approach naturally filters out the parasites and takers from your life. Parasitic people actively look for open wounds and weakness to exploit. They specifically target people who seem unable to defend themselves. But parasites cannot attach to a fast-moving train, so get moving with purpose. Have a mission that's higher and more important than your relationships. This might sound cold or selfish initially, but it's actually the only foundation for truly healthy relationships. If your romantic partner is literally your entire world and sole source of meaning, you become a psychological burden. You're heavy and draining because you have no independent identity. But if you have your own rich world of purpose, interests, and goals, you become a genuine partner. You're interesting, mysterious, and challenging in the best possible way. Human beings are naturally drawn to challenges and things they have to work to earn. They love what requires effort to obtain. Stop giving away your time, attention, and energy for free to people who don't reciprocate. Make them earn access to you by demonstrating respect and reciprocity. There's a form of self-betrayal that's worse than any external betrayal. Every single time you say yes when your gut is screaming no, you betray yourself at the deepest level. You're sending a message to your subconscious mind. I don't matter. My authentic feelings are wrong and should be ignored. My safety and well-being are secondary to everyone else's comfort. Do this enough times, and you develop a deep, simmering self-hatred that manifests as chronic exhaustion. You're not actually tired from your work or daily activities. You're exhausted from the constant war raging inside your head between the part of you that wants to live authentically and the part that's slowly killing itself trying to please everyone else. You have to end this internal war. You must declare a truce with yourself and wage war against the disrespect you've been accepting. You must become willing to be the villain in other people's stories so you can finally be the hero in your own life story. When you start setting real boundaries, they will call you selfish. They'll say you're cold and unfeeling. They'll tell you you've changed with disappointment in their voice. Your response should be simple. Correct, I have changed. I've stopped allowing myself to be consumed. Let them tell whatever stories they need to tell. Let them paint you as the bad guy in their narrative. The villain in most stories is simply the character who has boundaries and puts their own well-being first. Own that title, if necessary. If protecting your mental health and peace makes you the villain in someone's story, then embrace being the villain. When you fully accept this possibility, their weapons of guilt and shame turn to dust. Guilt only controls you if you agree that you should feel guilty. Shame only works if you accept that you should feel ashamed. When you calmly shrug and say, maybe I'm being selfish by your standards, they have nowhere to go with their manipulation. You've completely disarmed them by refusing to accept their framing. Imagine a version of yourself 6 months from now. This future version walks into any room and doesn't immediately scan for approval or validation. This version speaks slowly, clearly, and without apologizing for taking up space. When someone makes an unreasonable request, this version says no with a calm smile and feels absolutely zero guilt about it. This version naturally attracts respect like a magnet because people can feel the safety and strength radiating from their clear boundaries. People actually want to be around this version because there's no manipulation or hidden agenda, just honest, direct communication. This version of you is not used or exploited. This version is consulted and valued. This version is not constantly drained. This version is energized by authentic connections and purposeful work. This reality is completely available to you right now, but it demands a real sacrifice. You must sacrifice the comfort of your current cage of people-pleasing. You must sacrifice the comforting illusion that if you're just nice enough, accommodating enough, useful enough, the world will eventually be nice back to you. The world is not inherently nice or mean. The world is fundamentally indifferent to your suffering. The world respects leverage, respects power, respects boundaries, and respects people who respect themselves enough to enforce those boundaries. You have to actively teach people how to treat you, and you teach them not through words or explanations, but through your actions. You teach them through the behaviors you absolutely refuse to tolerate, through the times you're willing to walk away, through the silence you hold when they're waiting for you to break and apologize for having needs. This is the language of the unconscious mind that humans actually respond to. Once you learn to speak this language fluently through your behavior, the dynamics in all your relationships change permanently and irreversibly. You will eventually look back at the person you are right now, the version desperately begging for scraps of affection and validation, and you won't even recognize them. You'll see them as a stranger who had to die, so your authentic self could finally live. Be compassionate toward your old self, yes, but also be ruthless in leaving that version behind, because that old self is keeping you small, anxious, and trapped. The world doesn't need you to be small and accommodating. The world needs you big, strong, clear, and sovereign in your own life. If this message resonated with you and opened your eyes to patterns you've been trapped in, understand that personal transformation is a process, not a single moment. Start with one small boundary today. Practice saying no to one thing that drains you. Notice how it feels to prioritize yourself, even just once. The journey from people pleaser to self-respecting architect of your own life isn't always comfortable, but it's infinitely better than slowly disappearing while serving everyone else's needs. You deserve relationships built on mutual respect, not one-sided exploitation. You deserve to take up space without apologizing. You deserve to be valued for who you are, not just what you can do for others. If you found value in this guide, subscribe for more content on personal development, psychology, and building genuine self-respect. Remember, The most important relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself. Make it a relationship built on respect, clear boundaries, and authentic self-worth.